The crowds hailed him as king as he entered Jerusalem, singing Hosanna and waving palm branches. But how fickle the mob can be. A few days later, when the high priest petitioned for his crucifixion, the mob cried, "Crucify him!" What a travesty! No, a mockery of justice. The chief priests bribed Judas Iscariot to lead soldiers to the garden where he prayed and to betray him with a kiss. He preached openly every day in the temple, yet they came in the dark of night to hide their dirty deed. The soldiers seized him and took him to the high priest Caiaphas. The Sanhedrin was assembled all night for a mock trial with paid witnesses. They predictably found him guilty, but had no authority to execute him. So ultimately, they took him to the Roman authority, Pontius Pilate. After interrogating him, Pilate said, "I find this man guilty of nothing." He had him beaten with a whip 39 times, thinking this would satisfy their thirst for blood. After the third lashing, flesh and blood began to fly with each additional blow. The soldiers pressed a crown of thorns into his scalp. They put a purple robe on him and said, "Hail, the King of the Jews!" They hit him, saying, "Tell us, who hit you?" Pilate stood him before his accusers, barely recognizable. The crowd cried all the more for his crucifixion, so Pilate delivered him to be crucified. They tore the purple robe from his bloody back, put his cross upon his shoulders, and ordered him to carry it to a hill called Calvary. He was so weak from lack of sleep, loss of blood, and the brutal beating that he fell under the weight of the cross. The soldiers ordered a man named Simon to carry his cross the rest of the way. They crucified him between two condemned criminals. I can still hear the sound of them driving those nails through his hands and feet. But he never made a sound. His silence was deafening. This man who opened the eyes of the blind, healed so many who had no hope, and brought light to the darkest lives. I heard him say while on that cross, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Then he said, "It is finished," and he breathed his last breath. The soldiers pierced his side with a spear to make sure that he was dead. It was a Sabbath, so there was no time to prepare his body for burial. His disciples put him in a rich man's tomb in a nearby garden. 3 days later, 2 women came to the tomb with the spices, oil, and linen to wrap him. The tomb was opened, and it was empty.